Yesterday, I heard Secretary of State Mike Pompeo give a 10-minute talk on an amazing number of Americans who've been repatriated. So I put out a request to my son, who works at the Department of State, if Morgan Ortagus, the State Department spokeswoman, could not join me. In fact, she can this morning. Morgan Ortagus, welcome to the Hugh Hewitt Show. Great to have you.
Thank you, sir. It's my first time being on.
I know, and I'm just so happy on this occasion because when the Secretary of State said yesterday 45,000 Americans have been brought home by Department of State, I thought I had not heard that number. Can you tell me about that story? It's incredible.
You know what? And it's even grown since he was at the podium yesterday morning. I'm just looking at our 5 a.m. update, and we're actually at 49,823 Americans that we've repatriated from around the world. These are on 483 flights. And this is from, gosh, I think it's at least 81 countries, if not more, that we've brought people from around the world. This has been something that the State Department has never experienced before. Often, when we have to evacuate Americans or repatriate Americans, there is like a tsunami, God forbid, or an earthquake or some violence in a particular country or a region. We've never faced anything like this before, where we had to roll up our sleeves and literally bring Americans home from around the world. So it's been a 24/7 job for many weeks. We've been actually doing this since January. The coronavirus, I feel like, is very present in Americans' minds for the past month or so. But, you know, when everyone was watching Super Bowl Sunday, we were evacuating Americans out of Wuhan off of cruise ships. We're still doing that. So we have about 20 to 25,000 Americans still abroad that may want to come home, and we're working to get every last American home that we can.
Now, the Secretary said at the podium you'd even gotten people out of Nepal from a place near Everest via some combination of flight and winding road and bus and crazy stuff. What is the impediment, if any, to the remaining 25,000? Are some, I gather, choosing to shelter in place?
So we've a couple of different scenarios. We've had a lot of people that have signed up as time has gone on. So they've sort of decided, you know, within the last week, okay, maybe I don't want to wait this out. Maybe I do want to come home. So one thing that we're telling everybody, if you're listening and you have family members, loved ones that are overseas, please don't try and wait this out. Please sign up at step.state.gov. I'll just say that one more time, just in case anyone has anyone overseas. It's step.state.gov. Sign up there so we can try and get you home. Now, some people are in like Europe, for example, in Germany, right? You can get a flight back to the United States. It's not a problem. But we're in places like Nepal. We're in places like Peru, for example, where people were maybe hours away from Lima, from the airport, and you have to get people in some countries. They're on orders, stand down orders, and so they can't. They may not be able to travel. So we have to get some letters saying yes, they're allowed to travel to the airport. It's been pretty crazy, but we have a really dedicated team of Foreign Service officers around the world that, by the way, are putting their own health and safety at risk and not leaving in order to make sure that Americans get out first.
Let me repeat that because we have Steelers fans listening. Morgan Ortega's STEP, STEP, is that it?
Yes,
Step.state.gov?
sir. That's right.
Step,
Yes, sir.
step.state.gov. What will they find when they go to step.state.gov?
It's a very easy way to register. Basically, that information will put you in touch with whatever embassy is closest to you wherever you are in the world, and you provide all of your information, and then get what we call mascot messages. These are alerts that will tell you when flights are available, when you can get on them, and so that has been our main effort since January 29th.
Now, there are some parts of the world which are receiving very little attention. I've been focusing on Ecuador because I've just got some visibility into Ecuador. It's a very bad situation there. Is there any
Hmm.
part of the world that is beyond the State Department's reach to help people?
That's a good question. No one's asked me that. We don't have any that I'm aware of. We don't have any Americans that are trying to get repatriated out of, Pyongyang or North Korea for anything crazy like that. I don't think so. I think that we can, I have to say the individual stories that you hear from people is really heartwarming. People write us emails and notes. The secretary shared some of them where they just say, I'm so proud to be an American, because they know we're not going to leave anybody behind.
Now, last question is switching subject on you, Morgan Ortagus. There's a report, I believe, in the Journal this morning that the talks between the Taliban and the Afghan government have hit a huge bump, that there is a threatened breakdown here. What can you tell me about the peace talks in Afghanistan, if anything?
Yeah, so the secretary talked about this a little bit yesterday at the podium. Here's what we know. It was, gosh, maybe it's been about 6 weeks ago at this point. I'd have to look at the exact date. But I traveled with Secretary to Pompeo to Doha. We signed the peace deal with the Taliban. Secretary Esper was in Kabul signing the joint declaration with the government of Afghanistan. We have tried to say this entire time, this is going to be messy. This is not going to be easy. If you look and study, as I know you have, at any end of war process, anytime you've got an insurgency like this and you're trying to get to a peaceful resolution, it's not going to be clean. It's not going to be easy. What we do know is we have hopeful signs. The two sides are talking to each other. We went to Afghanistan. I went with the secretary just a couple of weeks ago. We went on a surprise trip, and the secretary had to deliver a very tough message to Ashraf Ghani and Abdullah, saying we need to get to a political resolution. So we're still confident in our people and our process that we're going to work this because there is no military end to Afghanistan. That's the situation that we're in.
Morgan Ortagus, State Department spokeswoman, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it very much.